First of all, I would like to welcome you all to our program. Thank you kindly for accepting our invitation and coming together to hear about the glories of our Vaikuntha children. This is our annual program of the Institute for Spiritual Culture. So for those who are attending that program the first time, I would like to give a little bit of background information. It's 3 years ago that we inaugurated this Institute for Spiritual Culture, and it is basically an educational institution within the institution of ISKCON. Like we have the Mayapur Institute, the Mayapur Academy, simply specializing on a very particular aspect of devotional life and giving systematic training and education in this. So in the same way, our Institute for Spiritual Culture is simply trying to give systematic education in aspects of culture. And I have made a humble attempt to put together a few courses like giving and accepting shelter, the Vanapasta ashram, what does that actually mean? How can it be applied in the modern days? Then a course on men and women in spiritual culture, on marriage in spiritual culture. So, and of course, these courses are not perfect and complete. It is simply a humble attempt to make some little, give some little insights into relevant topics of our devotional life. So, and I've been giving these courses in various parts of the world. So now this year we launched a new course on children in spiritual culture. It's a 15-hour course. We're having it in Mayapur here in January. And this basically gave me the idea to put this year's annual program under this theme, children, the glories of our Vaikuntha children, or as subtitle I added, it takes a village to raise a child. So, and this is the reason how we came about this, that we chose this topic. So with your permission, I'd like to add a few little words about culture. How does culture come about? What is it? What is it affecting? So basically, culture comes about by living a certain worldview, a certain philosophy, a certain ideology. By practically living according to it, culture develops in all different aspects of practical life. And of course, the more we practically live our Vaishnava philosophy, the more the culture should actually naturally develop in all different aspects of our life. Spiritual culture, we can understand it is like Krishna's system. It is Krishna's culture, Krishna's system, which he has given us in order to create stability and harmony in this world, so that we can wholeheartedly develop our relationship with him. That's basically how we can understand Krishna's culture. And we can almost say all our social problems we are facing in this world, like divorce, violence towards women, child abuse, single motherhood, all these things we can understand as global reactions for not following Krishna's system. Because this is basically yes, we can say the disease of the modern days, that we often think our system is so much better than Krishna's system. We tend to think that Krishna's system is outdated, and we think we know better. And well, as a result, we are getting all kinds of global reactions there. So in that way, I'm very convinced that we have to make some effort to get insights into Krishna's system. And interestingly, spiritual culture has universal underlying principles, which are actually applicable anywhere. The principles, the detail might vary according to time, place and circumstance, but the principles are universal. And we find them indeed in every spiritual culture, not only in our Vaishnava culture. When we compare different spiritual cultures, we find the same principles there, ultimately because they all come from Vedic culture, actually. Because as we know, the whole world in former ages was one kingdom, and Sanatana Dharma was the world religion. Vedic culture was everywhere. But then as this one world kingdom split up in many kingdoms, that's how the different religions and the different spiritual cultures developed. So the very root is Vedic culture, and that's why we find so many parallels there in all spiritual cultures. So now let's get back to the theme of our Vaikuntha children. First of all, I want to share what inspires me about this topic of children, because some of you might think, well, how can Devaki talk about children? She doesn't have any children. So my first source of inspiration is actually my own childhood. I've had the good fortune of having had a most amazing mother and a wonderful father, and they definitely sowed the seed of bhakti in my heart, even though they were not teaching me to chant Hare Krishna. But they were applying so many spiritual principles of child raising, maybe even more than most of our devotees applying. In fact, I grew up without television. I was the only child in the whole school in Germany who did not have a television at home. And I think that's probably one of the best things my parents did for me. We had books. My mother was reading every evening to us for at least 12, 14 years, every evening. So many other principles they applied. They were very thoughtful and very intelligent, really. And that definitely gives me today the emotional balance and strength to actually practice Krishna consciousness, definitely. So, but then the other source of inspiration is definitely my experiences in Bangladesh. And interestingly, I learned in Bangladesh from the brahmacharis what attitude they have to children. And just to illustrate that, I want to share a little story with you. Some 10, 12 years ago, I took one Mataji with her 10-year-old boy to Bangladesh. And the boy was known to have no interest in Krishna consciousness. He didn't want to go to the temple, definitely didn't want to chant Hare Krishna. He was sleeping till 9 or 10 o'clock in the morning. He was a bit of a lethargic, depressed kind of a kid, just sitting in front of the computer playing games. So when devotees heard that I would take him for 3 weeks to Bangladesh, people were saying to me, why are you taking him? He is not even a devotee. I remember that. He's not even a devotee. Why are you taking him? So I didn't really think much about it. I thought, oh, well, the mother wants to come, so let the boy come along as well. So, and then in Bangladesh, this boy came to life. Wow, he blossomed, he flourished. And why? Because the brahmacharis involved him. They were so nice with him. They invited him to live with them in the same room. They showed him all the different things. They trained him up. They let him be part in preaching programs. A tutor is his name. He knew one melody on the harmonium. Every preaching program, he had his little 5-minute number there, playing his tune in front of hundreds of devotees. This boy got so inspired. Amazing. He was even inspired to wash one of the brahmacharis' cloth every day. His mother was in shock. She was saying, I have never seen my boy like this. He has never in his life washed anybody's cloth. But here he's so inspired, washing this brahmachari's cloth every day. Then this brahmachari said, you should read Bhagavad Gita every day. He was sitting there reading Bhagavad Gita every day. He came to Mangalati every day. In these 3 weeks, this boy probably got more affection and care than he received his whole life. And he was simply transformed. And this was such an eye-opener, this experience. The mother was completely blown away. She said, what is happening? I cannot understand. I have never seen my boy like this. Everybody was saying he's not even a devotee. But wow, here he's coming to life. So, and that was my eye-opener, that I thought, my God, it looks like somehow we're doing something wrong here. What is going on? And well, in Bangladesh, it's indeed like that every temple, every ISKCON temple, has a temple department, which is the kids department. Like we have the DD department, the Sankirtan department, they have a kids department. They call it, sorry I have to read because this is a tongue twister for me, for my German tongue, Jagata Chatra Samaj. Jagata Chatra Samaj, which means it's the department for enlightening the school kids, basically. That's the name. His Holiness Bhakti Pushdam Swami started this. Yeah, so the children, every Friday, which is for us the Sunday, they have a full-on program. They learn verses, they learn musical instruments, bhajans, kirtans, they're engaged in devotional arts. They have their classrooms, they have their place in the temple. They feel involved, they feel part of it all. And it's exciting. And they do excursions, they have competitions, they have a whole life there in the temple. And the department is run by the brahmacharis. Even though the teachers are mainly grihastas, but the brahmacharis are supervising it. But anyway, these are just details which can be adjusted. But the principle is that the children are in the center. They are involved, they're part of it. Even how they associate, how they deal with the children, they connect with them. They have that vision, this boy is the future brahmachari. And that's why they give so much attention to the boys especially. Yes, and that's why the children, they're eager. They're eager, they're part of it. They feel wanted and needed there. Actually, I remember once one of the brahmacharis was saying to me, this is also 10, 12 years ago, he was saying to me, this children's program, more important than our university preaching. And I was blown away. I at that time, I didn't fully understand. So I was asking him, really? How is that? And he was saying, yes, child, you have to plant the seed right early there, at very youth, right childhood. When the person is in university, already so many bad habits are there, so many mundane impressions are there. But childhood, it's like a clean sheet. That's when we plant the seed, then the person will become a devotee. And I was really impressed. hearing such words from a 27-year-old brahmachari. I don't think in many parts of the world people have such vision. And I mean, it's very clear in a culture where sense gratification is the goal of life, naturally children are a disturbance. They disturb the fun of the grown-ups. They're always pushed aside. They're neglected. They're in the way. They're a burden. That's why today in the secular society, the children, the babies at 6 weeks of age, they're dropped off in the daycare center in the morning and picked up in the evening. Child is in the way. So, but in spiritual culture, in a culture where self-realization is the goal in life, the children are seen as the future. And not only seen theoretically, but actually practically it is demonstrated. And I've experienced this in Bangladesh. So I want to read one nice quote for you, which is not by Srila Prabhupada. In fact, it is not even by a devotee, but I find it just so suitable for us that I would like to share this with you. This is from the 31st President of the United States. His name is Herbert Hoover. He was president from 1929 to 1933, so it's a while ago. He was born 1874. He died 1964. So he said this thing which I find is just so applicable and relevant for our ISKCON society. So he said, if we could have but one generation of properly born, trained, educated, and healthy children, 1,000 other problems of government would vanish. We would assure ourselves of healthier minds and vigorous bodies to direct the energies of our nation to greater heights of achievement. So, I mean, we can really apply this for our ISKCON society by, instead of nation, to direct the energies of our nation, of our ISKCON society to higher achievements. If we could just really focus on that, you know, if we could just have one generation of properly born. Interesting that he's even saying properly born, so obviously he must have had some concept that there is properly born and improperly born, whatever he understood under this, but properly born, trained, educated and healthy children, then 1,000 other problems of government, of our government of ISKCON, would vanish. I thought that was a really good starting point, a good meditation to this program, to meditate on that. And it is not even coming from a mouth of a devotee.